So hello and welcome. Happy New Year's Day, January the 1st of 2026, which makes this my first video of the year. I'm Frederick Dunn, and this is The Way to Bee. I'm in the northwestern part of the state of Pennsylvania, the northeastern part of the United States. It's 13 degrees Fahrenheit. That's minus 11 Celsius. So I thought, you know what? There's no better time to go out and check the hives to see if anybody's alive. And by anybody, I mean the honeybees. Look at this Layens hive right here. Insulated on the sidewalls and the top. They're alive in there. And you might be wondering, Fred, how do you know? How do you know which of these hives has living colonies of bees in them and which don't? Well, look at this top bar hive, for example. I did not put insulation on this, even though all my instincts said, put insulation on this hive. We had 2 colonies going into winter. This end of it, south-facing wall, is dead. This end over here, it's alive. How do you know which hive has living bees in it? Well, we do thermal scans, and if you want to jump right to those, they start at the 13-minute mark. Otherwise, stick around for an explanation. See the aluminized tape there? Everywhere I found leaks, I taped it up. And they have a lot of frames of honey in there. And look at this one. I showed it last time. This is the 2 colony keepers hive setup. So we have 2 8-frame colonies on each side here, and then the center riser is full of honey. That's a 10-frame deep Langstroth design. Of course, this was part of their fundraiser. I happily contributed and bought one of these hives. Now, last time I did a cold weather show on these hives, I only showed the other side with a thermal, and people thought, does that mean this side over here, the south-facing side, are they dead? Look at all the dead bees in the entrance. I'm not cleaning out that entrance right now. I'll explain why. Because it's still wicked cold. And because it's so cold, they are already getting some passive ventilation from other sources. I will be back, though, as soon as things start to warm up. And what do I mean by a warm-up? If it goes above 32, I'm going to be out here cleaning these entrances. Now, this Layens hive right here, full of bees, they're alive, and that entrance is not blocked. It's not even blocked with dead bees, but that's because the entrance is well off the bottom of the hive. There may be dead bees right inside. You see vent holes on the end there, but they are blocked up. This has rigid 2-inch foam board insulation on top. It has lamb's wool or sheep's wool on the sidewalls. Now, this is a single colony Layens hive. Guess what? They're alive too. How about this hive over here that looks like a coffin? This is my long Langstroth hive. Also teeming with bees. Now, this particular one has a little shelter over the entrance. Doesn't really matter much because there's no real landing board there. These bees are alive, and if you notice when you look through that entrance there, you could actually see the ends of the frames inside. And I also put double bubble between the cover and the base of this, and that acts as a gasket. I started doing that a few years ago, and it has made a huge difference just by stopping air movement through the top of this long Langstroth hive. The other thing is, people ask about a shim on that box. When you do that, the entrance is lower. This is a hive that's particularly interesting to all of us. These are nucleus hives. This has 15 deep frames in it, insulated cover. And it does have underneath that 2-inch thick, rigid polystyrofoam board that you get from your building center. It has one of those Apame single hive feeders on it, and it does have fondant in it. Hive number 55 was a challenge this year. This is one of their kind of breeder hives. It's the Apame nucleus hive, 7 frames per level. And you can put solid or liquid up there, and they've all been converted to fondant. It's just a look at our landscape here. You know, we had some wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Now, that was rare. And when did that happen? Middle of the night, of course. And it sweeps across this cornfield where the corn has been harvested, and we still have decent winds, but they're not that high. And this is hive number 44, a personal favorite. This is 2 nucleus colonies, not colonies, but 2 nucleus boxes, 5 frames each. And this is that colony that built that very interesting shroud over the entrance of propolis. Now I had to scrape that shroud away because it was frozen solid like a block of ice about a week ago, and so I scraped it off completely. And the big question is, are these bees alive? And if they are, where are they located? You're going to get that answer when we look at the thermal scans. When I scraped it away, we see that this is the entrance here. There's some ice and snow there. It was not completely jammed with dead bees, though. And just to give you a little spoiler alert here, they're in the upper box already, which I'm not happy about. At this time of year, first day of January, I really wish that they were about mid-run up these hives. The Apiary hives are pretty insulated too, and it's harder on a day like today to tell exactly where the bees are located in there. And when we show the thermals, you'll see. Now that's the Way To Bee Academy building, 3 observation hives in it back there. And they do better, of course. They're not exposed to the wind, which also takes away some of the heat from your hive. And the number 1 and number 3 observation hives in there are full of bees. And last time we had to vacuum them out. Not bad at all. Now I can tell you ahead of time, this Beersville bees, long Langstroth hive, no heat signature at all. Why is that? Because there's no bees in it yet. It's a brand new hive. It's just pre-staging for springtime when we'll put swarms in that hive. So check back with me when the weather changes. Now here we have another 5/5, so that's 10 frames, nucleus hives here. And they're still alive. You can't imagine how they even make it. And all it has is an insulated cover on it. It does also have the single feeder that comes from Apiary that's compatible with these wooden nucleus hive boxes. This one here I had no hopes for. A single 5-frame nuke. Late in the year, I put a swarm in here just for kicks. And then I fed them. And they maxed out their frames. And there is a tiny heat signature on that colony, on that hive. But I'm not hopeful. Now we have these noise makers, motion activated. They, of course, when they get covered with snow, they can't charge up. But not too many animals have been walking by, so we don't have much of a problem there. But they are noisy, and they work. Now this is something I've had for years. On the eastern side of this building, these are for mason bees, solitary bees. We're going to be expanding our solitary bee boxes and resources for those bees in the coming year. So when the weather warms up, you're going to see a lot more. And those did very well this year. So they augment your honeybees. These are my Endura hives, of course. And look at the configurations. Double deep on the left, so that's 2 Langstroth 10-frame deeps. And on the right, a medium deep, and then the deep brood box on the bottom. And they have the Apiary adapter kits that came from Nature's Image Farm. Now something else I'm trying out, Steve Rapaski kind of pushed me in this direction with his use of the single brood management system, and then wintering colonies with single brood and single brood box. So it's a 10-frame propolis box, of course, has the advantage of that healthier hive with more propolis inside. And of course we have a painted one there. So we're going to make comparisons. We're going to see how they do. They both got equal feed. They have Hive Alive fondant on them. And now there's my classic configuration to the right there. The dark brown box is a deep 10 frame, and then the medium blue box is all full of honey. Bee Smart Designs insulated inner cover, and then a feeder shim above that. Right next to it, single deep 10 frame Langstroth box, single brood management, insulated double bubble, B-Max, insulated cover on top of that, and then of course a 10 frame Apiary deep and medium. And look at the landing boards, they're all completely blocked. And as I mentioned before, I want you to know I will be back to clean those off when it's going to go above freezing. Bees require a surprisingly small amount of air movement. However, if it starts to warm up, it gets above freezing, and they really start heating up in there, more condensation forms, they need to be able to vent that out. So we're going to clean all entrances in the next warm-up. Now over here, this used to be just nucleus hives in a row here. The one all the way on the end to the left, still alive. Pretty surprising. And then we have the triple right there next to it. So that's 15 deep frames. Pretty decent size. They're alive. And then the one that I collected with the grandkids this year, the deep 10 frame brood box, a medium honey super, and then the Apiary compatible cover on top with the feeder, and it has fondant on it. So we definitely kept the feed on those at the end of the year. They were late season installs, and we're going to see how they go. But as of today, the thermal scans demonstrate that there are live bees inside those hives, so we're not going to give up on them. And you can look across the landscape here. You might be wondering how many colonies are out here. Well, we started the winter with 43. I think we have 39 or 40 for sure still remaining. So that's a good sign. Early winter set in here, and I think it's just going to stay bad all the way until the springtime, but we'll be monitoring them with the thermal scans. Now I have to pick and choose which colonies I can do thermal scans on, because that FLIR Pro 1 that attaches to my phone cuts out on me almost right away. It doesn't have very good performance in cold climates. Now that's the ivory beehive right there. Looks like a barrel on its side. Looks kind of like a covered wagon. Which, now that I think about it, would be funny to put wagon wheels on it and things like that. But anyway, they're alive, insulated. Of course, here comes our township snowplow. Thank goodness. We go through days out here where the roads aren't even plowed at all. Undermanned, probably. And we can see that the bees flew out of here and eliminated a little bit, and that's what that is. That's bee poo. Bee waste. They fly out and squirt it right on the wall as they go away. Now that's not the end of the world. In fact, if you see that, it's not too bad. If you see it really covering everything, then you've got an issue with dysentery in that hive. But these are okay. Now look at the entrance of the ivory beehive here. There's 15 frames in there. They're round. And last time I had to vacuum out a solid plug of worker honeybees because they were definitely jammed up, and here we are again. Now I'm still not going to clean these out yet until we get above 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0 Celsius. So once it moves up there, I'm going to come and clear those out completely. So now we see the 3 Apiary hive types there, and a lot of the other standard Langstroth boxes. So the top bar hive, you might be wondering about. We're going to see the thermals on that, and I have to say ahead of time, I'm really impressed. So I don't quite know what to do. I've kind of resisted using top bar hives. If you're a beginning beekeeper and you're looking at this year, thinking about what kind of hive to start your year with, if you've got a tight budget, take a solid look at top bar beehives. If you're going to build your own box, they are the least expensive way to go. And of course, this is my first winter with one, and we're looking at Apiary hives when I'm talking about the top bar. So we're going to see the thermals here, and you'll be surprised. Anyway, so that's that nucleus hive that's all by itself. It should not be alive at all. Now here's the thing about thermal scans. By the way, the temperatures, completely ignore them. It just shows hot and cold, because that thing cannot calibrate itself, and you take it out of a hot pocket and hold it out in the cold air. But look at this top bar hive and look at where the cluster is. Look at that heat signature off to the left, that light yellow area. Living bees inside. Not just that, they're perfectly positioned because the honey ends right there where I put those arrows. They are not even halfway through their honey stores. Now when we go to the end, and this is the western end of that hive, I don't see a heat signature at all. So if I just shot from this side, because it only reads surface temperature, remember, it would look like they're dead for sure. Now what I want to share with you about thermal scans, if you see a heat signature like this on this Layens hive, which by the way was painted by an above average painter, that any heat signature is an indicator of life. Now that does not mean that if you do not see a heat signature on the side of a hive, it doesn't mean they're dead. So it's not proof of death, it's only proof of life, because sometimes the cluster in there is very tight and they're well away from the exterior surfaces and you don't get a reading. So this keeper's hive single colony, it's alive for sure, and look, they're down in the bottom box still, which means they have 5 frames of wall-to-wall honey up above. So they're very well situated for going into the rest of the winter. This top bar hive is just going to be fun to watch. Now I'm scanning it just like I'm looking at a house for thermal efficiency. And all the way to the end, I'm 99% sure that those bees are dead. That was a tiny colony, not much of a chance. Then we come back over here. I'm looking for leaks because where the cover boards, which are also the frames, by the way, where they meet the top, see the yellow area there at the very top? That means some warm air is escaping there. And they're in good shape. So now we're looking at the southern side of the 2-colony keeper's hive system. See that hot glow on the right? That colony is doing very well. And the top center column here is a 10 frame deep. It has a divider board dividing both colonies from one another. And they have not even moved up into that on either side. So they have resources that they're not even using. And so they're looking good for winter. The 2-queen system is strong. Now, Hive 44 has a following. There's a lot of people just like me who are rooting for this colony of bees. I probably will put a link down to the beginnings of this colony so you can see it. But you see the hot spots there by the handle cutouts. They are in there, they're alive, but I don't like their position. This means they're in the top 5 frames already. And they do have food, so they've got an emergency pack of Hive Life fondant on there as well. And I will be checking that when I hit a nice warm day coming up. And we're going to see if they need to have a replacement pack. But so far, I've not had to replace any of the fondant packs. And that's the only emergency resource I've put on any of these hives. And so everybody's looking good so far. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we have 3, that there's just no way they made it. Now, I have not opened them up to look inside to see dead bees, but there's no reason to look inside in the middle of winter to see if your bees are dead. When you pull off the top and check your emergency food resource, and I hope you have that on, if it looks like they need more, give them more. I hope you learned something from today's video. Happy New Year's. I look forward to a fantastic 2026. If you're not already a subscriber, I invite you to subscribe. We have interesting things ahead. I'm Frederick Dunn, and this has been The Way to Bee.